Hi everyone, my name is Petra Yasmina and this is my new series called Between the Lines. In the series I will be taking a very close look at some of my songs as well as some songs by my favorite songwriters and really dissect them line by line, take a close look at the lyrics, the messages and also some meanings and secrets between the lines. So I hope you stick around and see what we find. As a singer-songwriter, I often get asked about where do songs come from and where do the ideas start, how do you build lyrics, how do you construct them, what do some of the lyrics actually mean. And so I intend to be answering, if not all, then many of these questions in this series and really taking a look between the lines of some of the songs I've written, and who knows, we might find things that I don't even know about them. The first song that we're going to work on is called Arsonists. Arsonists is a very special song, first of all, because of the way that it was born. I remember hanging up the phone, I was in a long distance relationship and I hung up the phone and ended that relationship, and about 10-15 minutes later there was this song, and it was so incredible to me because it wasn't really like I intentionally wanted to write a song about it, but some part of me obviously had to, and so that's how the song was born. I did some minor editing later, I think, but honestly not much, so it's a very direct flow of thought that went into this. Arsonist is the last song on my EP called Signet that came out last fall in 2019. It's definitely the most personal one, and you will find out as we dive into the lyrics more deeply that it very much tells a love story. Yeah, let's just get right into it. Arsonist starts with an intro, and I wanted to include it in this because to me it's a very important mood setter for this song. Very ethereal, very airy. In the finished version it's done with kind of like layered back vocals, and the whole meaning behind this is that when I started writing this song, or rather when I realized that I had written this song, it was a very clear visual image for me. I often see things as movie scenes. I dream in movie scenes and I write in movie scenes, and this was definitely a very powerful scene for me. It was this image of a house completely burned down with these flakes of ash or chips of ash just floating in the air against the night sky. And I needed there to be something that went with the image in my head. The first verse then begins to tell the story. All our friends have gone home, it's 4 in the morning. We're young and high on these city nights. Growing up is so rough, this is a rush and we want it, oh we want it. In the cold dark, you're warm and alive. This is very accurate to, based on true events, so to speak. And something that I'd like to point out here, all our friends have gone home, it's 4 in the morning. I really enjoy using specific times in my songs, in my writing. I have learned through writing fiction that the more information you can give the listener about where we are at, when is this happening, what are the surroundings, what are the circumstances, the clearer image they're able to have of the mood and the atmosphere of the story. Because this would be a very different beginning to a song if it happens at 5 p.m. Instead it's 4 in the morning in a nearly deserted city. All our friends have gone home. We're all alone in the night. It already sets a very powerful image in your head about where we are and what it's like. So I really like to use times, and I've noticed that usually I go with either 4 in the morning, 3 in the morning, or midnight. Yeah, it's an artist life. It's a lot of nighttime writing. We're young and high on these city nights. I happen to use a lot of drug metaphor in my writing. It's not because I'm a huge fan of drugs, because I am not. But there's like an ugly beauty to me about referring to drugs, whether it's drunk on something, high on something, something in your veins, ecstasy, whatever kind of metaphor you use. I've always thought that it's a very interesting way to describe emotions, because in the end, how different are certain types of lust and attraction to an addiction, really? I'll leave that to your consideration. Growing up is so rough, this is a Russian we wanted. In the cold dark, you're warm and alive. Then we go to the pre-chorus. And you take my hand and say, you know, we're meant to be. All I know is that I need to solve your mystery. It is so wrong, it's right. One look ignite. Ignite is definitely one of my favorite words in English, because it doesn't really sound like what it does at all. Ignite sounds very soft and flowy, and then what it does is actually set something on fire. So it's an interesting word to me, and I wanted to have it here. And it is so wrong, it's right, one look ignite. I mean, I hope everybody knows the feeling of having a little spark, having a little something with someone, and then meeting their eyes across the room, and there's just this spark. So that's what it is. We're coming to the first chorus here. We were like fire, how we danced in a burning room, a raging desire. But the smoke came all too soon, and now that all our pictures burned, and all our pages turned to white, we were like fire. Oh. Now we're just flakes in the night. Now we're just flakes in the night. So we are very much diving deep into this fire metaphor in this song. First of all, dancing in a burning room is one of the most beautiful metaphors that I know in songwriting. I know that it's not something that I came up with, unfortunately. It's used in a lot of songs. One of them, I think the first song that I heard with this lyric was the John Mayer song, which you all should go listen to right now. It's absolutely beautiful. And if you really think about what this means, dancing in a burning room, to me, it's really just about watching everything around you crash and fall and be destroyed, and you're holding on to each other and kind of dancing until the last minutes. It's very dramatic and very, very heartbreakingly beautiful. Raging desire, but the smoke came all too soon. Raging is usually something that is used not in a very positive way. A fire can be raging, a storm can be raging, and so I wanted the desire to be raging, and I think you all know what that means. But the smoke came all too soon, because when you play with fire, that's what's going to happen. And now that all the pictures burned and all our pages turned to white, this some people have asked me about, and to me this is very clear. So again, going back to that idea of this burning house, and this house does not necessarily need to be a physical house. I think of the house as a representative of this relationship, this home, this world that you have built together with this person, with all your little inside jokes and memories and funny stories and nicknames and all of that. When a relationship suddenly ends, especially if it ends in a very aggressive way, all of that kind of loses its meaning. And I think about that a lot. I think about what happens to all those things, what happens to all that immaterial stuff that you have created together. And to me, saying that it's all kind of wiped clean, all the stories from your pages are just wiped clean, all your pictures are burned, there was just something really final and really, really sad about it. Because essentially that's kind of what happens, isn't it? You have your memories, yes, but there's a lot of information there that is lost and never used again. A few people told me when I was recording this that flakes in the night doesn't really make sense to a native English speaker, that's not necessarily something that a person would say. And I was like, yes, because I'm not a native English speaker. I grew up in Finland and a bit all over the place. I speak with a weird mixed accent. I speak with weirdly mixed words from different countries' English. So I don't need to sound like a native English speaker. So I actually like saying things that are correct, but not necessarily something that a person would ordinarily say. And I wanted to hold on to this flakes word because it has kind of a dual meaning to me. Flake, first of all, to me is like literally these physical chips of ash flying in the sky against the night sky, which to me was such a strong image. But flakes to me also, and when flakes in the night also kind of tells about these two people in the beginning. It's 4 a.m, it's cold, they're still out, they're still partying, all of their friends have gone home. A flaky person is someone who is a little bit unreliable. You can't really make plans with them. You never know if they're going to break them, if they're going to keep their promises. And this to me kind of went nicely with these characters that I had described in the beginning, that they are sort of like flakes in the night. That's the reason that phrase got to stay. Okay, then we dive straight into the second verse, and if you're still with me, good job, thank you. We're songwriting nerding it out. All right. We lie awake, it's 4 in the morning. Another fight, both hearts burned out. We started a flame and we said that we don't need, yeah. But our spark surrounds us now. I have to say, and I don't often say this, but this is definitely my, out of everything that I've written, this is one of the verses that I am most proud of. Just because every line has a special meaning. So again, it's 4 in the morning. We're talking about these same two people that just a minute ago were flirting and partying and having this spark ignite between them. And now fast forward to a situation where it's 4 a.m. in the middle of the night, they've been fighting all night, everybody's completely exhausted and miserable. And this to me is just fast forwarding a relationship, especially a relationship where you maybe move in together or otherwise are very tightly together. There's going to be conflicts, and it's not all flirts and games. And so this to me was very powerful to kind of take that same sentence almost and flip it around and see where we are at now. Another fight, both hearts burned out, again with the fire metaphor, but here it just happened to go perfectly. We started a flame and we said that we'd own it. So we, dove into this thing knowing that we have a lot of spark, knowing that we are two explosive personalities, that there was a lot that could go awfully wrong, but we felt that we got it, that we can handle this. we started a flame and we said that we'd own it, but our spark surrounds us now. Look how that turned out. Got out of hand. To me, this is something that I'm quite proud of, actually, this writing right here. Then we move on to the pre-chorus. Remember how we laughed when we made love like arsonists. Lovers in crime, we would go down in history. But our tempers like embers, playing catch. Our word, strike a match. A lot is going on here. Remember how we laughed when we made love like arsonists. So we finally get the title of the song. This is something that I really like in songwriting in general. I like that the title is kind of not the most obvious word. I mean, this song could be called We Were Like Fire, but I wanted it to be called something where you have to kind of dig a little deeper into the song. You have to stick around for a little bit to understand why it's named what it's named. Arsonists is one of the best words in the English language. It is. I'm a big fan of phonetics, and if you repeat that word to yourself, it's an incredibly beautiful word. Whether you say arsonist or arsonist, it has such a beautiful curve to it, and because it means something criminal and violent, just makes it more interesting to me, because it's one of these really pretty sounding words that just means something terrible, and that is gold to a songwriter, or me at least. So remember how we laughed when we made love like arsonists. I don't think I need to explain that a lot. If you're two arsonists, if you're two people that are absolutely obsessed with setting things on fire, the lovemaking is going to be interesting. Lovers in crime, we would go down in history, kind of like a Thelma and Louise type of theme here. Tempers like embers is a very childlike rhyme. It's a very obvious rhyme to make. When we add that playing catch, which is also something that refers to a child's play, actually a sentence that sounds very light and funny, if you think about what it means two volatile personalities or tempers constantly playing catch, waiting for the moment that they collide, and so we're talking about quite a volatile, dangerous situation here. So I liked to say it in a very easy breezy, childlike way. One word, strike a match. Then we have another chorus, we were like fire, we danced in a burning room, ... And then we come to the bridge, and it's something like this. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, we should have known we would combust. Shreds of our love in the air, fall back to the ground somewhere. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, we should have known we would combust. Shreds of our love in the air, fall back to the ground somewhere. This is quite the bridge. It has a lot of horsepower in it, especially when added cellos and violins and a bunch of stuff in the studio version of this song. So we all know what ashes to ashes, dust to dust is. That's what people in English-speaking countries say when they lay someone to rest in a grave and a funeral. To me, that's always been extremely beautifully put. Bible really nailed it there. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Just listen to it. Phonetically, it is so pretty. We should have known we would combust. I mean, yeah, we should have known from the start that if you have tempers like embers playing catch, then in the end they're going to collide. Shreds of our love. Again, I'm thinking of all this immaterial, everything that we've gathered together and built together is literally burned down. It's all just in the air, just floating around. It's literally like poofing into nothingness, losing its meaning, fall back to the ground somewhere. So again, we're going with kind of like this funeral theme. So that's what's happening in the bridge. Then we get another chorus. We were like fire, we dance in a burning room, and we end in this little and that's Arsonists. Thank you so much for sticking around, and I hope that you learned something. I hope that you got some answers to your questions, and please let me know what you think. Tell me if this was interesting, very boring. What aspects would you like me to talk about more in my future episodes? And also, if there are songs that you would like me to dissect and go between the lines of, please let me know. I'd be happy to do that. So thank you, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. It's Petra Jasmina. You probably are on it right now, and you can see some more songs that I have written. Thank you.